Summers, Xerox CEO Ann Mulcahy, GE CEO Jeff Immelt, Citigroup Chairman Richard Parsons. Is this the best approach, though? Are these the right names to be thrown around, or any of these good names to replace Larry Summers in particular? Let's go to Erica Payne and Peter Morisi. And Peter, I want to start with you because you just wrote a large column on exactly this issue, and you say that in particular Ann Mulcahy is the wrong choice.
Absolutely. We don't need a business person in this job. Not that this administration doesn't need more business people, say at Commerce and Health and Human Services and so forth, but this is like the Surgeon General's position. You wouldn't make a lawyer the Surgeon General. This position briefs the president every day on the pulse of the economy. This is someone that has to be able to interpret the consumer price index, the GDP reports, the industrial production reports for the president. Historically, this person has not been a major policymaker, though he can or she can be. I think it would be a mistake to put a CEO in that job. We're not getting a major change in policy anyway. This guy's a liberal. We're going to get liberal policies. Who's ever in the job is going to have to apologize for things that won't work.
You know, Erica, who do you think, in particular, we've given you some names here, who do you think should replace Larry Summers? Who's the right choice?
Well, I think there are any number of good choices that you could make, but the specific person is less the question than, who does the person think about when they walk into the office every day? Who are they thinking about setting economic policy around? And I think that that is a place where people really have a very clear choice in front of them. Are you going to work for the people who, the conservatives have shown you who they work for. They work for Wall Street. They work for, like, the people at the black tie dinners, and who do Democrats and who has Obama built his campaign around, and who has he built his economic policy around? And that's sort of normal people who wake up every day and put on blue jeans or slacks and head to the office, So it's less the specific person than who is it that this whole economic policy is designed to help. So that's really, to me, the question.
Well, tell you what, guys, I want you to both take a listen to this, because our own David Asman spoke exclusively to former Fed Chairman Paul Volcker earlier today, and he asked him who should replace Larry Summers.
I think what you want in there is somebody who, to some extent, I don't mean to belittle it, it's very important, but is a kind of honest broker in bringing to the president the views not only of people within the administration, but people outside the administration, including in the business community. And getting somebody in there with the talent to do that, I think is extremely important.
All right, folks. So let me go back to Erica and Peter on this, because, Peter, you heard what Paul Volcker had to say, but do you agree with him?
Oh, I do. I think that's why the candidate that I would push forward as being the best compromise and a capable economist is Laura Tyson. She is a good economist. She has a history of being connected to industry, and that is being very sensitive to industry's needs. She'd be someone who would tell the president it's time to get tough on China, which is what industry wants. Alan Blinder, who someone else has mentioned, unfortunately is a man. There's going to be a woman in this job in all likelihood. Is more ideologically pure. He's more the kind the gang at Princeton likes. But, at least Laura knows what blue jeans look like, and she's seen them on workers. I doubt that anybody at Princeton, Harvard, and Yale even knows what blue jeans, never mind coveralls, look like.
Erica?
They get pre-washed blue jeans. They have to wear them out.
I bet you're wearing blue jeans down there. All right, Erica?
Well, Peter makes a great point. Both Laura and Alan would be decent choices for Obama to make. But again, the question in front of us is China. I thought Peter made a great point there. And China recently invested $600 billion in their infrastructure. So they are forging ahead, rebuilding their country, and that's what President Obama wants to do. And what the conservatives want to do is say, instead of investing in the future of our country, instead of building roads and building schools and doing those kinds of things, what they'd like to do is give a tax cut to 1% of the people. So, millionaires get a tax cut, and people who work for a living don't have those kinds of investments made that's going to help them compete with China in the future.
But I'll tell you what, let me bring in Steve into this one, because, Steve, here's the issue here, and she's bringing up the tax cuts for the top 2%. Will those or will those not expire at the end of the year? We don't know the answer to that yet. Having said that, she also brought up the Chinese. The Chinese, maybe the president needs to be worried about the economic threat that the Chinese are posing to us right now, not how they're doing it better than we are.
Well, the stakes are incredibly high in this entire debate, Cheryl. You have China on the rise, you have unemployment in the United States, you have a midterm election. All this stuff is percolating out there. there. And I don't know if one person's going to be able to kind of reverse this on the Economic Policy Committee, but that's sure what Obama's going to be trying to do. And, maybe Ann Mulcahy would be, she has good ties to China, Ann Mulcahy.
Yeah, but again, I think, I've heard a couple of folks bring up. Yeah, and Peter is saying.
You could leave this position vacant. You could put Pee Wee Herman in this position. It is not going to make any difference to this president who is thoroughly committed to old school Keynesian economics. For every dollar that Congress injects into the economy, it has to be taxed or borrowed out of the economy. No new spending power is created. You're not increasing productivity and the job supply, which is why the jobless numbers are abysmal and why economic growth is anemic.
Peter, you said the wrong. Hold on, I want to go back to Peter Marisi. You said the wrong ties to China. I want to find out what you mean there, Peter.
Well, look what she did with Xerox. The way she rebuilt Xerox was to strip out its manufacturing and outsource everything. Diana Farrell, the Summers deputy, the other woman that's mentioned, is a champion of outsourcing. You watch. If Obama puts either of those two women in, you can give up on this president standing up to China. This is the outsourcing president. He just wears a mask of the working man, but he is not serious. That's neither a liberal nor a conservative statement. It doesn't matter whether we tax more or tax less, spend more or spend less. If we do not address China, we fail. This president doesn't want to do that, and he's going to get someone in that office that'll tell him to make friends and be nice.
Erica?
So, yeah, again, the issue is, one of the issues in front of us is China, but as the other guest brought up, jobs. And so who is going to go out there and figure out how to put people back to work? And I will tell you, during the 8 years of George Bush's presidency, this is a fact that surprised me when I learned about it. During the entire George Bush presidency, 8 years, he did not create a single new net job in the entire 8 years that he was there. If you add up all the ones he lost and all the ones he made, it is zero net jobs. That is the answer. Well, let's talk about running against George Bush.
Let's talk about Barack Obama. He's created 3 million more jobless people.
Let's talk about George Bush, who, while he was in office, absolutely fundamentally broke the economy. And like it or not,
one at a time. And Peter Marisi, the issue. Peter Marisi, the issue.
It takes a very long time to climb out of this big of a hole.
Erica, I need to go to Peter Marisi. Peter, the issue here is this president, the one that's running the country today, and that is President Obama. And our question still is, should he change course on economic policy? The word is change here. Does he need to change again?
Oh, he can change course without forsaking his liberal principles. That's what we're forgetting. Stimulus can work, but you can't overburden it with silly requirements as they did, for example, with the weatherization program, so none of the money gets out. But more importantly, he's got to address the structural problems with China. Now, the AFL-CIO, who last I heard don't have no Republicans, is advocating of a very strong and stern policy towards China. He's getting recommendations from Democratic economists, Fred Bergston, Krugman, about how to address China, but he has been ignoring them because of Summers' advice.
So I'd love to agree with Peter again, and I'm so happy to hear a conservative actually say that stimulus can be a really effective way to jumpstart an economy.
Said about China and Summers?
Peter, let Erica finish.
After World War II and after the Great Depression and going into World War II, we basically ingested a huge stimulus into the economy. I mean, that was what the government spending was. It was a massive amount of government spending. It pulled us out of the Great Depression. It laid the groundwork for 50 years of American prosperity. And so those kinds of programs can work, and that's exactly what we need to do now to compete with China, which is spending $600 billion.
History tells us, real quick, I want to go to Greg and Steve. Hold on, guys. I want to go to Greg and Steve, because what history told us after the Great Depression was that it took 20 years, and there were fits and starts, including another depression that followed it.
And Obama needs to turn things around within the next few weeks, which is not going to happen no matter who he names to the position.
It is fitting that Larry Summers is returning to Harvard, which produced a study recently demonstrating that more government spending produces fewer jobs. Maybe he'll read it when he gets there.
I'm going to miss that $787 billion that we put into the economy once a year ago. And I'm going to miss Peter Marisi, and I'm going to miss Erica Payne, because I love having you both on the show. And it's great to have you both. Great points from both of you folks.